Hello and welcome, and just before I jump into this video, I wanted to mention that I forgot to put Modern Warfare Remastered within this countdown. Why I didn't put it in is because it's not really a Call of Duty game that was brand new this decade, but however, it is still a Call of Duty game this decade, and I forgot to put an honorable mention in there during this video. I just completely forgot to do that, but Modern Warfare Remastered is my honorable mention for the top 10 game of the decade, only because it wasn't a brand new Call of Duty game. It is a remake of Call of Duty 4, so just for those of you guys who wanted to understand that, and why I didn't mention that at the end of the video, that's why. So anyway guys, hopefully you go to enjoy the countdown. Hopefully I didn't make any of you guys mad, and enjoy the video. Hello and welcome. My name is Kyle for the win, and welcome to another Call of Duty video. Today, we are going to be doing the countdown of the top 10 best Call of Duty games from 2010 to 2020. Now, this video idea came after I decided that I wanted to do some sort of video that encompasses this entire generation. Of course, this is about to be the second generation I've been alive, or the second decade I've been alive, so I guess it's the top 10 Call of Duties of the decade is a better word for it, because the generation would be Call of Duty 1 all the way to Call of Duty Modern Warfare currently. So this is just the top 10 Call of Duty games of 2010 through 2020, and I wanted to do a countdown based off of the generation. I was going to do the top 10 best YouTube moments of 2010 through 2020, but due to copyright issues and not being able to think of that, I decided that I would just break down the top 10 best Call of Duty games of the decade. This is, of course, my personal opinion. You guys feel free to have your own opinions of that, but of course we're not going to be seeing Call of Duty 4, World at War, Modern Warfare, or Modern Warfare 2 within this countdown because of the fact that those games were all out before 2010. But let's go ahead and not waste any more time, and let's jump straight into this countdown. Coming in at the number 10 spot, this is a very controversial one. I have Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I wish this could be in my number 1 list, and it could still be very high on my list, but in its current state, in Modern Warfare's current state, this is the worst, least fun Call of Duty game of the decade. I wish that it was better, I really do, but there's not really much to say about this because the game just is not fun. The developers don't listen, the maps are terrible, Spec Ops is completely unbalanced, and just the game is not fun. I'm not really going to touch much on Modern Warfare because it's simple. The game is just not a good Call of Duty game. It's worse than my old least favorite Call of Duty game, which actually comes in at our number 9 spot. And at our number 9 spot, I have the game Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. This was the very first boots off the ground shooter that we were given. As for the campaign side of things and the zombie side of things, the campaign was great. I really enjoyed the campaign. We had Kevin Spacey in there. It was a very well written story. Loved the campaign. The Zombies mode was very creative, a lot of fun for the first map. I didn't really play this game after July, so DLC 2 and DLC 3 and 4, sorry, were the Zombies mode I did not play. The Zombies maps I did not play, sorry. So I only played really Advanced Warfare's multiplayer mode, and Advanced Warfare multiplayer mode was really bad. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I thought the boost jumping was way too over-exaggerated. At my current skill level in Call of Duty at that time, skill-based matchmaking completely ruined my fun and made me quit the game. I wish I enjoyed it. As I said, I really wish I enjoyed it, but unfortunately, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is still one of my least favorite Call of Duty games of all time. It was very ambitious. There was pay-to-win weapons, which is part of the reason I didn't like it, but very ambitious. Gotta give credit where credit is due, but it's still at the very bottom of my list as my second to least favorite Call of Duty game. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have Call of Duty Ghosts. This used to be my 5th favorite Call of Duty game of all time, but after going back to it and after really thinking about it, it's not a very good game. This was the very first Call of Duty game where they kind of put on, obviously this was the first Call of Duty on next gen, so the developers felt a need to kind of branch off and do some things a little bit differently. Of course, during Black Ops 2's life cycle, they were saying how the game was getting stale. It was the same game every year. So with Call of Duty Ghosts, Infinity Ward had an ambition to redesign the game, make things a little bit different, add new movement mechanics, add customization, which was great. The extinction mode was fantastic. The campaign was one of the biggest cliffhangers we've ever seen, which was awesome. The only downside, the only thing I didn't like about the multiplayer for Call of Duty Ghosts was the multiplayer side of things. The base multiplayer, the DLC maps for Call of Duty Ghosts were amazing, 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 creative, fun, fast-paced. They were great. The DLC maps were fantastic. The problem with Call of Duty Ghosts that I had at that time was the fact that it was very campy. People loved to camp with their M27 thermal IRs, their ghillie suits, and the game was just really not fun. The maps were way too big. Of course, coming back, I sort of enjoyed the game a little bit more, which is why it's not my least favorite Call of Duty game of all time. But compared to all the rest of the Call of Duty games on this list, it has to fit in at that number 8 spot. Coming out to my number 7 spot, I have the game Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. This is my second favorite boots on off the ground Call of Duty game. People absolutely hated this game. It was the most disliked video on YouTube until YouTube Rewind took that spot, but people were just done with the advanced movements once Call of Duty Infinite Black Ops 3's life cycle was coming to an end. With a complete understanding, I mean, I was sick of boots on off the ground Call of Duty games too, but Infinite Warfare has one of my favorite campaigns of all time. It had a very creative, very fun zombies mode. Multiplayer was great. I really enjoyed multiplayer. The supply drop system, the salvage system was very, very awesome. Really, really loved it. And Infinite Warfare just had a lot of great things that I really enjoyed. But it's still not as good as the other games on my list. But Infinite Warfare, very underrated game. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Currently, because it's a very fun game, the hit detection was phenomenal. Time to kill was great. The rigs were very, very fun. And that's why it's at my number 7 spot. Coming in at my number 6 spot, this is another very controversial one. I have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. It is currently at the number 6 spot because I just didn't have enough experience with it in its current life cycle. Going back to Modern Warfare 3 now is just terrible. The game is so laggy, you can't even move. And the ACR and the MP7 are completely overused still. But earlier, sort of around Black Ops 2's life cycle, Call of Duty Ghost life cycle, I did play Modern Warfare 3, really, really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it when it wasn't the laggy mess of a game. Now I can't even find a game in it now with below 150 ping. That's probably the area where I live, but again, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is a good game. It has great streaks, it has specialists, which was amazing, it had a very, very wide, fun variety of guns. Support, a little bit too overpowered, which is what I didn't like. The maps were good. Honestly, my biggest problem with Modern Warfare 3 was simply the time when I played it. If I played it during its life cycle, I'm sure I would love it, would have loved it, but unfortunately, because of me playing the game well after it was the main Call of Duty game, it just has to be at that number 6 spot. Just not enough experience with it. Coming in at my number 5 spot, this is another controversial one for a lot of people who don't like this game. My number 5 spot is Call of Duty World War II. I hated this game when it first came out. From November to probably about February, I hated it. I barely played it. I didn't want to touch it. I almost quit it fully. But Aaron Hallen came in and completely took a 180 on the game and made it a lot of fun. The DLC was fantastic. Nazi Zombies was probably the scariest zombie mode I've ever played, which is why it was so fun. I loved it. Campaign, one of my favorite campaigns of all time. Again, I really, really loved Call of Duty World War II's campaign. I have a favorite mission of all time within Call of Duty World War II's campaign, which is Battle of the Bulge. Highly recommend you give that mission a go, but the multiplayer side of things was poor, but then they completely turned it around and made it way more fun. People started moving around more. The DLC maps were great. Loved it. Went all the way to Master Prestige when I was only like 3rd Prestige in the game before the overhaul. So I went from 3rd Prestige all the way to Master Prestige before the game was done. Loved World War II. It's definitely one of my favorite Call of Duty games within this decade, and that's why it's in the number 5 spot. Coming at the number 4 spot, we have my baby, one of my favorite Call of Duty games of all time, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I love this game. I have a whole series dedicated to it. I love the streaks. I love the time to kill. I love the manual healing. Everything about Black Ops 4 is really, really fun. I really like this game. Again, this is my opinion. Black Ops 4 is a great all-around Call of Duty game. The only thing I don't like about this was the reserve system. The specialist did get a little bit annoying, and the weapon balance was a little bit iffy during its life cycle, and the sweats, the people who jumped around every single corner was kind of annoying. The zombies mode was a lot of fun. Honestly, it's not higher on the list because it didn't have a campaign. They could have tied Black Ops 2 off very well because Black Ops 3 had a very poor campaign. But overall, Black Ops 4, one of my favorite Call of Duties of all time. If it wasn't above all of the others, I would not have a series dedicated to it. I love this game. I always have. Ever since it was out, even with a bad DLC system, I really still enjoyed the game. And I have a year 2 on it, so obviously I really love this game. Coming at the number 3 spot, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 3. This was an almost perfect Call of Duty game. The campaign was horrible, I will admit that. Probably my least favorite campaign ever made in Call of Duty. It made no sense. It didn't really tie in anything with Black Ops 2, which we all thought it would. So Black Ops 3 didn't have a very good campaign, but the reason that is my number 3 favorite Call of Duty game of this decade is the Zombies mode was the best Zombies mode ever. You can argue with me all you want. You can say Black Ops 1 had the best, Black Ops 2 had the best, but no. Black Ops 3 had the best Zombies mode. You have Der Eisendrache, which is arguably the best map of all time. Shadows of Evil, another arguably one of the best Zombies maps of all time. Setsubo no Shima, my favorite Zombies map of all time. Garad Krovi, Revelations, Zombie Chronicles. It has all of the classic Black Ops 1 maps remastered, put into Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 Zombies was amazing. I cannot rave and talk about Black Ops 3 Zombies enough. Absolutely fantastic. The biggest height of the Zombies community we've ever seen. I loved the way the Zombies community was back then during that life cycle. I still follow the Zombies community closely today. Loved Black Ops 3 Zombies. And we haven't even talked about the multiplayer yet. The multiplayer was almost flawless to me. If this was a boots on the ground Call of Duty game, it would probably be one of my favorite Call of Duty games of all time. It might even be number 1 on the list. But because of the advanced movement, it's not quite there, and it doesn't quite beat up my number 1 and 2 spot, but I love the multiplayer. This was the first time they introduced specialists, and they were very balanced for this game. A lot of people were worried about it. Turns out they were very balanced. I loved going for hero gear, which for those of you who don't know is if you got every specialist within the game to the highest level, or basically the highest uniform, you were able to unlock hero gear for all your characters, which was this very cool gold armor looking suit for each of your specialists, which was very cool. This was the first Call of Duty game that introduced Dark Matter camo, which was awesome. And overall, Black Ops 3 was a complete, perfect, amazing game, and was probably the last Call of Duty game where we had a very close, tight-knit community that was enjoying a Call of Duty game. Coming in at my number 2 spot, this is another controversial one, is Call of Duty Black Ops. I love this game. This game is amazing, but it's not quite the number 1 spot. You guys probably can assume what the number 1 spot is right now because we've covered almost every Call of Duty game within the decade. But Black Ops 1 is at my number 2 spot for this decade because it is a great game. I mean, I love this game. Everything about it is amazing. The multiplayer is fantastic. The AK-47, the FAMAS, the fantastic streaks, the introduction of the SR-71. I love Black Ops 1. The Zombies mode was great. The campaign is one of my favorite campaigns of all time, but it was slow paced. Ghost was very overpowered. The gun balance was iffy. The maps were very good as well, but there were also some very terrible maps within this game. But Black Ops 1 is a great game. Don't think I don't like it because it's not in my number 1 spot. I know that this is a lot of people's baby. It is in my top 5 of all time. It's probably my third Call of Duty game of all time. Love Black Ops 1. But nothing, in my opinion, is better than Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which comes in at my number 1 spot. This is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time, next to Modern Warfare 2. If I were to do a best Call of Duty game of all time, it would go Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 3. Black Ops 1, sorry. Black Ops 3. I love Black Ops 2. It is an absolutely amazing Call of Duty game. They did almost nothing wrong with this game. The streaks were fantastic. The campaign was really cool. They introduced different endings for the first time in the franchise. The campaign was creative. The multiplayer was super fast paced. The streaks went absolutely ham. And the Zombies mode was pretty good. I'd say there was a couple bad maps, Transit and Die Rise was not the best maps, but Black Ops 2 is my favorite Call of Duty game of this decade and is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time. The nostalgia I have for Black Ops 2 is compares to no other Call of Duty game ever made, because this was the first Call of Duty game that I kind of got introduced to the YouTube side of things for Call of Duty, kind of got introduced to, the main Call of Duty game, kind of introduced to news and information, which is why I base my channel off of this now. Huge inspiration from that time period for Call of Duty. I love Black Ops 2. It's my favorite Call of Duty game of all time, and it definitely belongs in that #1 spot above every single Call of Duty game ever made this decade. Black Ops 2, favorite, just amazing. So there we go, guys. That is my top 10 list of all of my favorite Call of Duty games throughout this decade, from 2010 all the way through 2020. Modern Warfare may move up that list after its year is said and done, but at the moment, as I said, Modern Warfare has to be at that number 10 spot. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I didn't make any of you guys mad. Probably did make some of you guys mad, because there's some people that absolutely love Modern Warfare 3. No other Call of Duty touches that for some people, but it's my opinion, and I respect everybody else's opinion. If you want to put your top 10 best Call of Duty games of the decade within the comment section, I'd be very interested in reading that and seeing how you guys rate all the Call of Duty games. But man, I just love Black Ops 2, and I just wanted to make a generation video because it's kind of crazy, because I've almost lived for 2 decades, which is kind of crazy, and it's going to be 2020. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This is going to take quite a bit of editing, because these videos always take quite a bit of editing, but they're very fun to make. I love making countdowns. I'll probably have that part 2 of the most unique maps coming up later on in the next couple of weeks. But that is my top 10 Call of Duty games of the generation. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe if you are new. Make sure you check out all of my other previous Call of Duty videos, and I will see you guys all in another video very, very soon.